Today, we explore the harsh punishments and ordeals that accused individuals had to undergo to prove their innocence. We take a deep dive into the practices that were believed to align with God's will at the time. While some punishments may seem barbaric to us today, they served as a warning to others and were a tool of control for the ruling class. So let's journey back in time and explore how the justice system has evolved over the years. In the Middle Ages, the justice system was incredibly strict and unyielding towards criminals compared to the current era. There was no official police enforcement, which meant local communities held the responsibility of law and order. Punishments were often decided by the Christian Church, but the accused received a chance to seek salvation from God and evade punishment. Prisons were scarce, thus penalties mainly served as a deterrent for other potential offenders. Capital punishment was considerably favored during that period, which is not the case in the modern criminal justice system. Also, physical harm as a sentence is no longer prevalent today. It was only during the 13th century when jury trials became a common practice. As the process to determine one's guilt or innocence was informal, people were subjected to trials by ordeal. The medieval justice system employed three forms of ordeals to determine guilt or innocence: ordeal by fire, water, and combat. These ordeals were designed to expose the accused to life-threatening situations where a divine intervention could prove their innocence. In the ordeal by fire, the accused had to carry a red-hot iron for 9 feet with their hands bandaged. After 3 days, they had to present their hands in court, and their wounds were inspected. If the wounds exhibited signs of healing, they were declared innocent. Otherwise, they faced conviction. Ordeal by water had 2 variants: the cold water ordeal and the hot water ordeal. In the cold water ordeal, the accused's feet and hands were bound before they were thrown into the water. If they floated, it was a sign of the divine's favor and their innocence. If they sank, they were deemed guilty. During hot water ordeals, individuals accused of a crime were required to retrieve a stone from the bottom of a pot of boiling water. This punishment was similar to the ordeal by fire, where if their hands were healed within 3 days, they were found not guilty. Ordeal by combat was also utilized to settle disputes between 2 parties, particularly where there was a lack of evidence or confessions. In this practice, 2 individuals engaged in a physical fight and the winner was deemed innocent. Although these practices were harsh, they were believed to align with God's will in the criminal justice system. Surviving or being acquitted after an ordeal was seen as a manifestation of God's intervention. However, as society has progressed, the nature of crimes and corresponding punishments have undergone significant changes. In medieval times, stealing was prevalent, and individuals who engaged in petty theft by stealing low-value goods were often perpetrators. The punishment for such crimes varied based on the severity of the offense and could range from public humiliation to bodily mutilation. As a common penalty, those found guilty of stealing were often subjected to extra work or fines according to the thievery code in the Book of Delana, ranging from 3 to 40 marks. However, the penalties worsened for those guilty of full thievery, who could face severe consequences such as hanging or bodily dismemberment. Although fines were mildly inconvenient, they were not nearly as shameful or discrediting as the more serious punishments. In the past, it was not unusual for thievery to incur a severe punishment, such as disfigurement or mutilation. It was believed that this would serve as a warning to others that they were dealing with a criminal. The implications of setting fire to a structure in medieval times were far greater than they are today. Due to the highly flammable nature of the construction materials used in that era, even the slightest blaze could quickly spread and led to disaster. As a result, those found guilty of committing this crime were often given the maximum punishment, which was death. Capital punishment, also known as the death penalty, was the harshest form of legal punishment at the time. This was because it often involved the seizure of property or land, which could have a significant impact on the ruling classes. In the Middle Ages, treason was considered the ultimate act of disloyalty to the reigning monarch or government. One could commit treason in various ways, whether it be conspiring to assassinate a monarch or speaking ill of the royal family. However, irrespective of the gravity of the crime, those who were convicted of treason faced incredibly severe punishment. As early as 1351, the legal code cemented the penalty for treason. This penalty was nothing short of horrifying. The offender was often hanged from a tree and taken down prior to their demise. Afterward, their body would be decapitated, dismembered, and scattered to other regions. The body parts would then be exhibited as a warning to others who may consider committing the same offense. Today, murder is still considered one of the most heinous crimes, punishable under the law. Back in medieval times, it was equally treated with severity. However, unsolved cases were common, given the absence of DNA evidence and modern technological aids. In the past, the norm was to sentence murderers to capital punishment. However, if a woman was found guilty of murder, she had to face a more severe form of execution than just being sent to the executioner. She would first be hanged or strangled, and then her body would be burnt. Unlike minor thievery, stealing crops was considered a more severe crime than petty theft. Food was regarded as a significant resource that required diligent labor and care to produce and sustain. Those found guilty of stealing crops from someone else's land would often be subjected to having their hands amputated. This was done to prevent further thievery and to serve as a warning to others. Crops were frequently stolen from wealthy lords who owned land, providing an opportunity for the ruling class to assert control over and punish the less affluent members of society. In summary, the medieval justice system employed harsh punishments and ordeals to maintain law and order in society. Stealing, treason, and murder were all severely punished, and the accused had to face trials by ordeal to prove their innocence. Today, the criminal justice system has advanced with the use of DNA evidence and modern technology to determine guilt or innocence. Although we may not use the same extreme measures as in the past, it is essential to remember the historical context and evolution of our legal system. Thank you for watching, and I hope you found this glimpse of medieval justice interesting and informative. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more historical content.